Folks, this is actually beginning to unfold into a tragic situation. Now, folks have been bringing this to my attention pretty regularly, and I actually am receiving more emails now showing that this new potential threat to folks, families, income, savings, finances, the economy, it's taking no prisoners, folks. And at the end of the day, it is being announced that there are some parts of the country that are already experiencing these catastrophic blows with notices and notifications coming through. And at the end of the day, it's not just about the added costs that are coming and being announced by folks in these industries and these areas, but it's the reason and cause behind it. Now, folks, I want to first start off by saying I hope everybody is doing well today. I hope everybody had an enjoyable and safe Thanksgiving holiday. We're able to spend time with friends and family, enjoy some good food, and not stress themselves out about, rushing out for Black Friday shopping deals and wasteful spending, and focusing on what really matters, family, friends, health, life in general. Folks, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you woke up today and we are engaging together right now and you are hearing my voice, if you're watching this video, I want to say that is a good thing. We have so many negatives going on right now in the world, so much bad news, so much pain and chaos and reasons to fear of what panic could be coming. Railroad workers possibly going on strike, the diesel fuel situation, gas prices, inflation, the economy in general, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, and perhaps maybe his next moves that could affect many. Job layoffs, mass layoffs occurring all around the country, and new announcements coming out every single day. And like I said, folks, these are not just the big companies. Some of these smaller companies, they are facing financial troubles as well. They just don't make the news. They don't make the headlines. They don't get the voice and the platform as others. But we are going to see more jobs on the line, more incomes at risk, more paychecks being wiped out. While, if you guys didn't catch the live stream this morning, more banks seeing financial troubles, and these pseudo banks, these neo banks, these non-banks, these fintech banks, loose term here, they're not really banks. They're not really banks, folks. Reports coming in that folks using this Chime banking app, or supposed banking app. Chime is the app that would allow, they allowed folks to get their paychecks 2 days earlier. Well, there's some serious problems going on with that app. And if you want to know about that, go ahead and check out that live stream from this morning. Some shocking information there. But the updates and the announcements that I'm receiving now are very concerning. And topics that I've covered on previous videos in the probably last 30, 45, 60 days, but they're becoming more widespread now, and the announcements are coming out. You're going to receive notifications through email. You're going to receive notifications through regular mail, physical mail. You're going to receive notifications through possibly a text message, or you may even see it on the news. Worst case scenario, you're going to see it on your next bill. You're going to see it on your next utility bill. And that is quite possibly going to be the worst way to receive this news, because at that point in time, you'll see the struggle and the problem that is ensuing, which is it's an increase in energy costs. We're seeing reports of projections of warnings of about a 40 to 50% increase in utility costs this winter. Higher heating costs, higher electricity costs, higher utility expenses, paying your light bill, paying your heat company, the water usage, possibly even internet going up. We're seeing costs climbing across the board. And I have another report to bring to you guys about additional costs that we're seeing as it hits the automotive industry. And that's going to be a very important update that I want you guys to pay very close attention to. I'll be bringing that to you very, very soon. But we're seeing some new increases in higher prices in the automotive industry. And this is not affecting just new buyers or folks trading in their vehicles or replacing their vehicles. No, this is affecting everyone who already owns a vehicle or will potentially likely purchase a vehicle in the future. But at the end of the day, this effect is it's not isolated to just new. It's actually going to be retroactive to existing, and it's going to cause folks, like I said, no one is immune from inflation. Okay, no one's immune from inflation, and the only difference is that some folks, inflation will affect them differently in a way that it doesn't cripple them. When I say folks are facing starvation, possible starvation, I don't necessarily mean that folks aren't going to have food on the table. I mean that this starvation could represent so many different forms of lack and going without as a result of your income being reduced or eliminated. Think about it. If you are some of the unfortunate and unlucky bunch to receive layoff notifications from your company that you work for. Maybe you work for Amazon. Maybe you work for Google. Maybe you work for FedEx Ground. Who knows? Maybe you work for Hewlett Packard, HP. However, that starvation could affect you and your income and not getting your paycheck like normal. And, whether it is that or perhaps maybe you're part of the railroad workers collective group, railroad union, and there's a strike, that could have a huge impact on your income. And it's starvation in the not literal sense, but the figurative sense, in the metaphoric mention of the word, and how what we're experiencing right now in our economy can hurt so many people. Now, with that being said, I always suggest folks, you save as much money as possible, you invest, and you have opportunities for growth in the money you have, making more money and bringing more money to you, but also in diversification, so you don't find yourself in a situation where perhaps maybe your one source of income is wiped out, or your one bank is wiped out, or your one credit card is wiped out, or whatever it may be is wiped out, and you don't have a backup plan. Because that's what's going to be the difference between survival and ultimate demise and just peril, is if you literally just rely on one single source, and you have a single point of failure, and that point of failure actually fails, then it's too late to prepare. Then it's too late to have a backup plan. And I think that a lot of folks are seeing that now, because we've been talking about this for months. And although there have been various factors that have been playing a part in destroying the middle class, working class, poor, American families who are living paycheck to paycheck, just struggling, barely trying to get by, just getting swallowed up whole by inflation. It's not so much the food that's not going to be there. It's the ability to buy the food that could force a physical starvation and hunger and food insecurity, for the fact that your paychecks are being diminished. Your income is not keeping up anywhere close with the actual rate of inflation. Not the rate of inflation that they tell you on the CPI reports every month, but the actual rate of inflation. And then on top of that, maybe you lose your paycheck altogether because you are part of the Twitter bunch that gets laid off or is forced with an ultimatum of quit or get fired. And, when we see what we all are experiencing in the business world, and then you add on top of that these utility costs and high fuel costs driving up utility costs, then it's insult to injury. It's another nail in the coffin. And actually, I'll tell you what, guys, I want to bring this problem is actually affecting certain parts of the country already. And the biggest problem is that I'm actually here in Atlanta, and I was telling you guys about the problems that are affecting people's paychecks and their income and their livelihood. And, these layoffs and companies making notifications that we're going to see higher utility costs and gas and electricity and water, and all the bills are going up. The bills are going up higher, while it's making it more difficult for Americans to survive. But the question is, it's like, I'm hearing on the radio, they got, oh man, they got these advertisements, because, you know, they still got this election that is going on between Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. So it's like, all right, so is it a leadership thing? Do we need to be voting in better leadership so that we don't have these issues, that we don't see these problems? But at the same time, then it's kind of like, well, we don't want leadership coming in and dictating how businesses are run and their revenues, their prices, their profitability, their business operations. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, and I heard this on the radio, and they're saying that Raphael Warnock, they said, you know, he's evicting folks who aren't making their rent payments, and it's the people in low income housing, you know, that have affordability concerns. So, you know, but it's like, all right, so if that's the case, then these are probably going to be the same people who are going to have issues paying these higher costs, whether it be utilities, whether it be water, electric, gas, cable, internet, security. Inflation is hitting hard, folks. And the counter from the government, from the Fed, is higher interest rates, which is already stated by Jerome Powell to cause people to lose their jobs. Now, the people who are going to lose their jobs are going to include those that are relying on these low income, affordable housing programs and opportunities and options. Meanwhile, folks are being evicted because they can't pay their rent. So then it comes down to like, so what's the big problem here? You know, because is it that the utilities are going up? Is it that prices are going up? Is it that wages aren't keeping up? Is it that layoffs are happening left and right? Or is this really more of a problem that's affecting those who have lower income deficiencies, perhaps maybe certain parts of the country, certain neighborhoods, certain zip codes, certain areas, certain demographics that are lower on that spectrum, on that scale. The folks that I was telling you about in a previous video, the ones that are most vulnerable to inflation, if we were to consider inflation as the rising waters of inflation, and the folks at the lowest level of a building are going to get wiped out and have to sink or swim, drown or swim, live or die, as the rising waters of inflation slowly consume the lowest levels first. And then you see something, you hear something like, you know, Raphael Warnock talking about, or not, he's not talking about it, but they're saying that, you know, he's running for Senate, and meanwhile, he's the one that's proposing that folks be evicted from their homes because they can't afford the payments on these already affordable housing living circumstances, living conditions. So it's more than just Twitter. It's more than just Amazon. You got to think Amazon, Twitter, FedEx, Google. There's going to be a whole lot more in big tech that's going to be announcing thousands of layoffs coming here soon. And you got to think, it's like, well, these folks are probably okay. These folks are probably fine. These folks are probably not dependent upon or relying upon affordable housing. So it's probably not going to be them that are going to feel this. But at the end of the day, it's coming. you know, prices are doubling. Now, you guys might want to go check out the recent short that I posted of a Walmart that I was in, and the freezer section was completely empty. Now, we know that food shortages and food insecurity it's been a concern, you know, especially since Russia invaded Ukraine, for obvious reasons. We don't need to relive those reasons. The weakest link, remember what I told you, the weakest links? Now, the Walmart section, or sorry, the freezer section at Walmart was completely empty. And I don't think it is directly tied to the crisis in Ukraine, the world's breadbasket, fertilizer availability. However, I do think it's tied to diesel fuel, oil, OPEC, Saudi Aramco, the Strategic Petroleum Reserves, some initiatives, the Green Energy Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the big businesses and corporations out there who are playing with folks' lives through their money. But at the end of the day, this is why and how these effects hit everybody. Nobody's immune, because it's been brought to my attention that these companies, some of which are pulling back on frozen food in particular. So if you check out the video I posted, it's Walmart here in Atlanta, North Atlanta, and their frozen food. I didn't see any issues in other areas of the store. No other empty shelves or any other food shortages or insecurities like that. But the frozen food section was the problem. And it's been brought to my attention that the higher fuel costs, which are driving up costs everywhere, which is why I tell you guys, even if you don't fill up on diesel, it affects you. Somehow, some way, you're tied to diesel. It doesn't just stop with diesel, gas. Petroleum runs the world. There's some really, really crazy rich, wealthy folks out there that they leverage the livelihoods of many by manipulating petroleum, oil, fuel. But it has impacted businesses by driving up these energy costs, which is what we are concerned about here with receiving letters, notices, and statements that utility costs are going up for the holidays. They're going up for the holidays. They're going up for the new year. They're going up for the winter time when they're going to be in high demand. And I hate it because this is a calculated, manipulated effort to wipe some folks out who aren't prepared. But the news that I received was that these costs are affecting businesses' ability to operate their refrigerators and freezers because of the higher energy costs that eat into their profits that they can't manage, which ultimately has a direct impact on us. And essentially what I saw today at Walmart in the frozen food section makes sense. And we're potentially likely to see further shortages as a result, and higher prices for the foods that are available during this time, which will probably affect certain parts of the country, certain neighborhoods, certain income brackets, more so than others, and sooner than others. So I hope you guys are taking this, as well as every other video, as a warning to prepare for what's happening that we knew was coming. We didn't know it was coming exactly this way, but we knew it was coming. And, this is part of the reset. This is part of the wipeout. This is the lower class, middle class, working class, poor, the folks out there, paycheck to paycheck. They make enough money just to be broke. And it's a sad state of affairs with inflation on top of it, further pushing down on them, higher interest rates, further pushing down on them. What do you do? Now, folks, the link's in the description. This is by no means an ad or a pitch, but if you're one of the folks who are asking me about the ability to gain access to capital, the link's in the description. Perhaps maybe the interest rate that you receive if you apply. They're offering between $500 and $10,000 with applications seeing approvals in as quick as 24 hours. Competitive rates, where some banks are being competitive with their rates and their buy rate and their sell rate and the profit margins that they have on those rates, which could be considerably lower than what you're paying now on interest on credit cards and other revolving credit cards and other debts that could possibly lower your interest and save some money, help you with your budget, or perhaps even just put the cushion in your bank, give you that safety net, that feeling where you can sleep at night, you can breathe, help you afford these higher priced food, groceries, necessities, essentials, utilities, perhaps maybe until we find a solution. Odds are next year at best. 2022 is going to be a tough one to close out. I'll continue to bring you guys more information and more updates on that and how that's panning out, as well as opportunities that exist out there that could potentially put you and your family in a better position to weather this storm and survive this slow burn that they're doing to wipe out a huge portion of the population if those folks aren't careful and aren't prepared and aren't paying attention to the warning signs of what's happening. But again, don't let this get you down, because like I said, if you woke up today, that's a good thing. We need to focus on the good, not just the bad. We need to focus on the positive, not just the negatives. Those will allow us to think clearer, see better, see through all this mess, this nonsense, and formulate our plans and execute on our strategies to survive, to thrive, come out better on the other side. You guys take care, be safe. See you next one. Bye.